Warning, this is not a tutorial. It's just me doing things with the terminal. Do not replicate. There is a risk of permanent data loss. Hello, everyone. Today I have to prevent a drama. Another one. There is a children's camera that has the formatting option directly accessible from the main settings. It is not the first time this has happened. As you may have understood, there are photos to recover with a bit of data carving. First of all, I have some sample images from which to extract specific headers and footers, so as not to waste time. The camera creates, in addition to the main images, previews, and to avoid having to manually delete hundreds of copies, I will write the correct header directly in the configuration file for Scalpel, the data carving software that I will use. For now, I use a generic text file that will become the configuration file for Scalpel dedicated to that camera. I will only have to change the extension and put it in the appropriate folder. There is clear documentation on this software and a ready-made configuration file from which I only have to uncomment any file extensions I want to search for traces of. For now, since it happens often on this camera, I just want a dedicated and ready-to-use file. The structure to write is file extension, case sensitivity, maximum file size to extract, header, footer, and some options that I am not interested in now. Maximum carving size must be chosen carefully. I prepare my work environment and start reading the first lines of each file to understand what to use as a header. For now, there are no previews. It is already clear that from the generic JPEG header formed by the 2 bytes FFD8, there is a whole string of 16 bytes perfectly identical in all the files I used as an example. Actually, all the visible header is the same. I do the same for the last lines. The JPEG file ends with the bytes FFD9, here with XV4, a few bytes after FFD9. This strange format that I do not know will be due to the internal software of the camera, which processes the images also with effects. At least I think so. I will use this footer in the configuration file. To see immediately if the files have the same first string, I copy some of them into the text file just created. In the previews, I already know that something changes in the central part, while some parts of the bytes around and the headers remain the same. FFD8 is the generic header of the JPEG file. For the footer, as I said, I will use the one given by the camera, even if the generic footer of the JPEG file, FFD9, is clearly visible. I do this because, in addition to making an external backup, I will put the photos back into the camera's memory, and it is better that they are totally compatible with its internal software. Now I can do the same with the preview header to see the differences with the full-size image. In the preview header, which I am copying into the file to highlight the differences, there are 4 bytes that do not correspond to those of the full format. Here I show one, but they are all like this. I can now discard hundreds of copies of images without having to waste time selecting them or dividing them by size. Also, because some full-format ones are small due to some characteristics of the image itself, and I would risk eliminating these too. Finally, I start writing what will be the configuration file, starting from the extension of the file to search for. The parameters must be separated by a space. I write yes on the case sensitivity of the header, in case it is written in ASCII format, and we will soon see it with the AVI format. Then I specify the maximum extraction size, which means that it will not extract files larger than 5 megabytes, or that it will stop at 5 megabytes, in case there is no footer. I will do some examples dedicated to the Scalpel configuration file and some settings. I don't think it is necessary, it is easy and well explained, but I enjoy doing it and it helps me to study some things again. Finally, I just have to write header and footer in the correct way. Each byte written must be preceded by a backslash and an X to denote the hexadecimal format. For the use of other formats, including the ASCII one, it is well explained in the original configuration file. Also for the AVI format, there is a specific header written in ASCII. It is represented by the RIF characters, followed by 4 variable bytes, and again 3 bytes in ASCII representing the AVI characters. Those 4 variable bytes in the middle will be covered by a wildcard represented by the question mark. I can also write the values in hexadecimal. It's the same. I find it faster to do it this way. 20 megabytes for these video files is more than enough. Finally, I check the header count and the number of extracted files. If something is not correct, I adjust the parameter better. I delete everything that is not needed, and here I am. I open the original configuration file for a look. You can see the character used as a wildcard, the structure of the parameters seen earlier on my text file, the correct way to write the headers and footers based on the type of characters you want to use. I rename my file to be placed in the scalpel folder. I leave it there for future use. I'm sure this camera will keep me busy for a long time, so I'd better organize my work efficiently. I take one last look at the file and, just to be safe, I change the video file size to 50 megabytes. To do it from here, I need the privileges of Lord of the Universe. I create a folder where I copy an image of the entire SD memory. That's where I'll do my things, and a subfolder for the extracted files. With this program, I create the image. The procedure is very simple and, given the size of the memory, also fast. Once I have extracted the files and checked that everything is in order, I can delete the image and return all the photos to the little owner of the camera. It's time to finish this work. As I'm using it now, this program has as parameters the via verbose to see what happens, the configuration file just created with its path, the folder where to extract the files, which must be empty. That's why I created the subfolder next to the image, and then the image file to work on, which to be safe, and because I don't remember, I'm going to check with the tab. Seeing this shower of headers and footers is a good sign. It means that at least the configuration file was written well. After searching for headers and footers, you can see how the files are opened, closed, and saved. This also means that the work was done well. Wrong parameters on the size would have led to not getting any files despite there being headers and footers. For obvious reasons, I can't show the contents of the image and video folders, but I can show that there is stuff. And there is everything that was lost. I delete the image file and proceed with the return of the memory, on which I will put everything back in. Luckily today a child will find the smile again, and I am happy. See you soon.